Welcome and/or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell, and today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I have hauled in the last month. So I've actually already filmed this video prior to this. All of my footage got destroyed because of external microphone issues. So I'm actually filming this video without a microphone. I'm going to be doing some editing. And so if my sound quality is low, that is why. Hopefully it's not too bad. I'm just having to try to figure out how I want to deal with the situation with my equipment. So that's where we are right now. But I want to go ahead and let you guys know everything that I've hauled recently because it's actually been quite a lot. There was a sale at my local used bookstore, and there was also a library sale that was going on as well this month. So I was able to haul a lot of books for not a lot of money, which is really nice. Before we get into this haul, I just want to let you know that all of my social media is linked down below if you want to follow me on Goodreads, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to do so. And please go ahead and click the like button and comment down below and let me know which of these books I should prioritize. Let me know which books you think I should read next. If you've read any of these and particularly really enjoyed them. Most of these are fantasy romance, and I think there's a couple of mysteries or thrillers in here as well. Oh, I think some sci-fi too. So let's just go ahead and get into this video. First book I'm hauling here is Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey, and this is a classic fantasy story about dragons. I think this is at least a 50-year-old book, and I know that Covers with Cassidy read this and really enjoyed it, and it was also on my classic / backlist fantasy TBR video. If you want to check out that video of all of the backlist fantasy books that I really want to read, then I'll have that linked down below for you. As you can tell, I'm not going to be going into a long synopsis for these because I don't know how many books, but probably about 30 books at least to talk about, and I can't go into synopsis for all of these. Next, I have No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is a thrill ride thriller. Apparently it's kind of like a non-stop, like super plot heavy, fast moving thriller that I've only ever heard amazing things about. It's set in the wintertime, and I thought it would just be a really good wintry, snowy thriller to pick up for the season. Next I have Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Tamsin Muir? Muir? Next I have Gideon the Ninth by this author. Sorry, I need to look up how to pronounce that. This is supposed to be like a sci-fi horror fantasy. It's sapphic, there's a mystery involved, and I've heard amazing things about this. I think Nona the Ninth, the third in this series, just came out, and there was a lot of hype about it, and I really want to pick this up. I've heard just wonderful things about it, and it looks really good. It looks like something that I might enjoy. I love mysteries, I love sci-fi, I love fantasy, I love anything sapphic. So, yeah. Next, I have a new book that I actually picked up, and this is Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler. Yet another recommendation from Covers with Cassidy, and this is supposed to be queer Star Wars, but more fantasy even than Star Wars is. Less sci-fi-y. So mostly fantasy, maybe a little bit of sci-fi, but there's an evil empire possibly, and it sounds really good, and I've heard wonderful things about this whole series. I believe the third book in this is coming out next year, possibly. And so I'd like to catch up if I can. Next I have Kristen Britton's Green Rider, and this is a larger series, I think at least 8 or 9 books, and it's a fantasy series. I think it's a couple decades old at least, and this was also on my backlist fantasy list, and it looks really good. Seems kind of be like a classic European medieval kind of fantasy setting about this girl who finds this rider who has this message for a king, and he is not doing so well, so she promises him she will deliver his message for him. So she hops on the horse and gets at it. And somehow epic fantasy ensues from there. Sounds really good. I've heard good things, and just another one that I want to pick up. Next, I have Emily Duncan's Wicked Saints. I think that this is an Eastern European setting fantasy. It's going to be kind of gothic. I really like the cover, and I've just kind of seen it around, and when I saw it at my library book sale for $1, I just couldn't not pick it up. I have Janie Wertz's Curse of the Mist Wraith. This is the first book in her 10-book epic fantasy series, where there are these mist wraiths that create this fog in the land, and I think that it is maybe dual POV. I think there's like 2 main characters. I've heard really good things about this series from Bryce from Shell Centered, and I just wanted to pick this up, and it was like $2.50 at my local used bookstore, so I just had to get it. So next I got the Legend of Dritz book 1, Homeland, Exile, and Sojourn by R.A. Salvatore. I thought this was where you enter in the series, and it turns out when I did haul this on my backlist video, I was told that this is actually not where you start. This was written later, and I was told to start with Icewind Dale. So I picked up Icewind Dale as well. So I really want to pick this up. This is a classic fantasy series, I think written at least 40 years ago, maybe. I don't know. This is like a backlist series that I would really like to pick up, and I've heard good things about. And I think this series is snowy. I mean, there's snow on the cover. It's called Icewind Dale. So seems to me it might be a bit of a polar fantasy. Okay, another possible polar fantasy I got is The Sisters of Winterwood. And this is a historical fairy tale retelling type, like folklore retelling type of fantasy book set on the border of Moldova and Ukraine. And it says it mixes fairy tale, poetry, history, and heart to create an enchanting and mesmerizing tale of sisterly love. And the cover is gorgeous. And I just thought this would be a good wintry book to pick up. Another book that I had mentioned on my backlist video was the Book of Amber. This is the complete books 1 through 10 of the Amber Chronicles, and it's by Roger Zelazny. I think I had issues with this last time too. Roger Zelazny. And it looks really good, and I've heard nothing but good things. I actually haven't heard a single bad thing about this whole series, and I want to pick it up. I think it's fantasy, but maybe with some sci-fi inspiration as well. And it looks really cool. So yeah. Next I have 3 books in the Dark Hunter universe. The first is the Dark Hunter Companion. These are all by Sherilyn Kenyon, and it's a vampire romance fantasy series that's quite large. I mean, I think there's over 20 books in the series. So this is a companion that helps you like look up like different facts about the world, how the houses work, the different names of different characters and their backstories and all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of just like an extra. And I also picked up Styx, which I haven't gotten to this book in the series yet, but I've heard it's a lot of people's favorite book in the series. And I wanted to get the actual physical copy of it because it's so large. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to this one. Also got Dance with the Devil because this is one of my favorite books in the whole series. And so I wanted to make sure I definitely had this one. I'd like to collect the whole series. If not, I'd like to at least have like all of my favorites. This is definitely one of my favorite series of all time. I've read, I think, eight books so far, but I have a long way to go. Next, I have The Queens of Innis Lear by Tessa Gratton. I saw my friend Kristen talk about this on one of her recent Once Upon a Readathon vlogs. I'll have it linked down below. This is a retelling of Shakespeare's The King of Innis Lear, except for it's about a queen or 2 queens. I'm not sure. I've heard it is slow paced and but also very political and well written. And generally that's something that I can sink my teeth into and enjoy. I have Dragon's Path and King's Blood, books 1 and 2, in the Dagger and the Coin series by Daniel Abraham. I don't know anything about these other than I've heard booktubers talk about them, including Alan from the Library of Alexandria. He's talked about this, I believe, and it looks good. It looks like there are multiple POVs, possibly 3, and I've heard good things about it. Next, I have a standalone by Janie Wirtz that takes place, I believe this is the second book in the Mistwraith series. I could be wrong. But I think this is the second book in the Mistwraith series. So just a continuation. Another book I have by Janie Wirtz, and this is a standalone that takes place after the Mistwraith series, but I didn't realize it was in the same universe, so I picked it up not knowing, but I'll definitely hold on to it for later. Next I have some romances. The first is Lisa Kleypas's Lady Sophia's Lover. I've heard this is a really good one, and that Lisa Kleypas is one to watch out for. I've not read any of her books before, but I've heard she has some of the best writing in historical romance, and this one has a really, really nice step back in it. So I got that. I also got The Unleashing by Shelley Lawrenston, and I believe this is a Viking-inspired fantasy romance that has an awesome cover, and I love anything Viking inspired, you know? I also picked up Connie Mason's A Taste of Paradise, which is another historical romance. Just in Time for a Highlander by Gwen Creedy. I love the cover for this one. And I also got Live and Let Try, which is a cozy mystery by Bree Baker. And I thought this might be a good one to pick up in like springtime when I'm getting like all of the summer feels, because I get super excited for summer and spring. By midsummer time, I'm like, give me the horrors. Like, I'm ready for fall. So I'm weird. But this seemed like a really cute cozy. Next, I picked up the Grey Bastards series, book 1 and 2 by Jonathan French. And these are supposed to be orcs on motorcycles, like Sons of Anarchy and Dungeons and Dragons collide, and this is what happened. That's all I know about them, and it sounded really cool. Also, if anyone knows how to get the library binding, like stickers and all this situation off without damaging covers, please let me know, because I'd like to get these all kind of cleaned up and everything like that and get the stickers off without damaging the covers, obviously. At my local used bookstore, I was able to pick up Stone of Farewell and Green Angel Tower by Ted Williams, books 2 and 3 in the I don't know where it is. Books 2 and 3 in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series. I already own Dragonbone Chair, which is the first book in that series, and it is a Norse-inspired epic fantasy series that is written by Ted Williams that is supposed to be some of the best writing in fantasy. I've heard Ted Williams is an amazing writer, and I really, really appreciate good writing. And so I think that he's definitely one I want to pick up. And I think that Patrick Leo has been talking about doing a read-along for that series for a while now. And if he does, I think he'll be reading it this year. Hopefully I can read along with him, but we'll just see. At my used bookstore, I was also able to pick up this chunker, which is Jonathan Strange. I'm even like, let me see if I can like balance this on my shoulder. It's heavy. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. And this is a Victorian era fantasy, so historical fantasy that is about magicians. That in itself makes me think it might be a little bit Night Circus-esque, which that's one of my favorite books of all time. I think it's going to be super cozy, and I think I'm going to really enjoy it. I just have this feeling that I want to curl up with a blanket with this book, and I was able to get this copy. It's got like deckled edges, and it's a really nice red copy of it. And I was able to get it for $9 at my used bookstore, and I thought that was such a steal. Library book sale, Den of Wolves by Juliette Marillier. This is the third book in the Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy, And the cover is gorgeous, and usually this is quite an expensive book to pick up. I think they're out of print and they're very expensive. So I definitely want to clean up this cover and get these stickers and the wrapping and everything off without damaging it. But for $1 when it's usually like 40 bucks online is pretty cool. I also got here, this is a new copy of For the Wolf by Hannah Witten because I accidentally ordered For the Throne instead when I was supposed to order For the Wolf. I got them mixed up. So this one is a duology, and each one is about a different sister. There's 2 sisters. One is meant for the wolf, meant to be sacrificed to these woods, and one is meant for the throne. She's supposed to marry, I'm assuming, like a prince, and each one tells their story, and I'm looking forward to picking it up. I'm thinking if I like books like The Bear and the Nightingale and Spinning Silver, which I do, then I will Spinning Silver, I have like 40 pages left of Spinning Silver, and I know I love it. So I'm figuring I should really enjoy this book. I hope so. Also have Age of Assassins by R.J. Barker. I've heard a lot about R.J. Barker. A lot of people love him, a lot of people don't, and I'd like to see where I stand on that. He also wrote The Bone Ships, which once again, like here, a lot of people love it, and a lot of people don't, and I don't know where I stand on that, but this one was at my library book sale for $1. I figured if I'm going to try them out, I might as well do it for cheap. 2 new epic fantasies that I picked up were The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. This is the second book in the Dandelion Dynasty. I gave the first book, Grace of Kings, 4 stars, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 5-star read based off of where we left off and his writing style and all of that. I think I'm really, really, really going to love this series. It's a silk punk political epic fantasy series. And it's very good. And I also picked up Christopher Ruccio's Empire of Silence. This is supposed to be a fantasy space opera sci-fi. And I've been wanting to find one of those series to sink my teeth into. A lot of sci-fi tends to be more like realistic, like what if, it sets itself like 50 years in the future or whatnot. But this is more, I think, on the Star Wars vein where it's like a fantasy sci-fi. And I'm really interested in those types of stories, and I haven't really read many or any of them, so I'd like to try one because I do think I would really enjoy it. And I've heard nothing but wonderful things about Christopher Ruccio's series, so I'm looking forward to picking it up. Okay, the rest of the books I have here are all romance. I have Hannah Howell's My Lady Captor, which is a beautiful cover, and I've heard wonderful things about Hannah Howell, and I loved this cover. A lot of these I got at the book sale or at my used bookstore for super inexpensive. This one was Joanna Lindsay's Once a Princess, and I got it solely for that step back because that's the most beautiful step back I've ever seen in my whole life. I also got Lorraine Heath's Never Marry a Cowboy because I've heard amazing things about Lorraine Heath and I've never read her before, and I saw it. And the step back for this one is on the back, and it's gorgeous as well. Connie Mason's Lord of Fire and Ice, I believe, is a Norse-inspired fantasy romance. And I don't know anything else about it, but it looked fun, and I'm trying to read a lot more fantasy romance next year. I also picked up Julia Quinn's The Viscount Who Loved Me. I read the first book in this series, the Bridgerton series, last year, and I enjoyed it. I know it's very problematic, but I did enjoy it, and so I wanted to pick up the next one eventually, and I saw it for $1 at my library book sale, and so I figured I might as well pick up a copy for that day when I feel like continuing on in the series. Another really beautiful step back was Kathy Maxwell's Adventure of a Scottish Heiress. This step back is beautiful, and that's basically the only reason I bought it. That and the fact that it's a Scottish historical fantasy, and this looks like a total Cinderella carriage right here. And I'm like, I'm gonna be in my historical romance era one of these days. Finally, I bought a trilogy that I've read the first 2 books in, and that is the Promise of Fire, the Kingmaker series. So I've read A Promise of Fire, Breath of Fire, and I still need to read Heart on Fire. And I absolutely adored A Promise of Fire. It's one of my favorite fantasy romances of all time. Breath of Fire I really liked, but I didn't love it as much as the first book in this series. but I really would like to continue on. Her spin-off fourth book in this series that will follow a different couple did just come out, and I'd like to get to that. So there you have it. That was 42 books apparently that I have hauled, which seems like a lot, but really wasn't too bad when you really do consider the fact that most of them were used. A lot of them were bought at my library book sale where each book was $1. And so not so bad, honestly. But I do need to find space on my shelves. I do need to go on a book buying ban because I'm gonna actually have to buy a new bookshelf. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna have to happen. And then I'm gonna really need to start reading what's on my shelves. I need to read what's on my shelves. Please, if you guys have any ideas for projects or videos I can do next year that will incorporate me reading what's on my bookshelf, maybe including a little reward, then give me your ideas down below. Even something I can incorporate into my TBR game, Once Upon a TBR game. Let me know any ideas you have that can help give me prompts or encourage me to read what's on my shelves, because I need to do that for sure. At this point, I'm hauling way more books than I'm reading on my shelves. I hope you guys really enjoyed this book haul. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I'll be chatting with you down below in the comments. If you have not already subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. All of my social media is linked down below, including my Goodreads Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.